What's up, everybody? Coach Mills here, coming at you with a brand new Valorant video. And in this video, we got to break down patch 5.01 finally live. We got to talk about all the changes, all the additions, and everything you need to know about the brand new patch. So we're going to break it all down. We are excited to introduce you to our brand new sponsorship, Outplayed. Now, Outplayed is the ultimate video capturing app for gamers, and you're going to be able to automatically capture your best moments and biggest plays, and even anything else with just the press of a button. Whether it's an ace, a sick ult, or maybe you completely whiffed and you want to share it with your friends, Outplayed makes sure you never miss an interesting moment, and then you can share it very easily with Discord, YouTube, or anywhere else. On top of that, there's a built-in video editor, so you can edit your videos from within the app, meaning you can record and output a ton of content, sending it to your friends, building up your channel, or anything else. Outplayed supports over 300 games, so what are you waiting for? Go check it out right now in the download links below. Now, the first thing that we gotta talk about is Pearl. Pearl will be in the competitive map pool, and I know some of you have not played the map nearly at all, and you're gonna get into competitive, be completely lost, and probably throw. And for those of you who do know Pearl, right now you can get some percentage points because you have mastered the map. You can go play it in comp, and you're gonna actually know what are the angles that people peek, where do people hold, and it's going to be a slight advantage for you. But at the same time, there's gonna be a lot of players that have no idea what's happening, and they're running around like crazy, and they might be throwing your game. So there's gonna be a lot more variance right now. You know the map, you have a little bit of an advantage, but overall, games are gonna be a little bit weird on Pearl. But on the bright side, after playing Pearl a little bit myself, I think that the map is a good map. I like the map. In fact, I put it above Breeze and Fracture on my personal rankings. But ever let me know down below, how do you feel about Pearl, and what is your map tier list about your favorite to least favorite maps in the game? Let me know. Now, we do got to talk about the agent changes that went live. First off, KO. So they said, quote, KO hasn't had much of a quality of life pass since you last had some changes. So we wanted to reduce some pain and help you access more parts of the kit that haven't felt as accessible. The fragment zone diameter reduced from 10 meters down to 8. Damage now applies without needing line of sight. We noticed a lot of inconsistencies with how the fragment is communicating with the actual damage zone on the ability. We wanted to be consistent with how the visuals were showing the damage zone, so we removed the line of sight requirement to apply the damage. And this is actually really good for KO. While yes, having a reduced diameter is gonna make it so you have to be more specific with how you throw the fragment, like there's less of a margin for error if you're trying to clear out a cubby. If you don't do it properly, there might be a little gap in the corner, but what happened more than that by far is the fact that if someone was like around, still in the circle, but like around like maybe the tip of pyramid on freaking Breeze, then all of a sudden they wouldn't take any damage. So it's really important that this allows for consistency in KO, and it's ultimately going to be a felt buff in my personal opinion, as someone who has slowly devolved into a goddamn KO main recently. And next up is the null CMD. Now only allies will hear the full channel audio of reviving KO while downed. Enemies will only hear a short audio cue when the revive has started, matching a similar gameplay pattern to playing around ultimate orbs or tapping the bomb. This means that it's going to be a lot easier for KO's 1 to get res because enemies are not going to be able to heal the whole thing. 2, it's going to be a lot easier to use a KO down as bait, right? In the similar way that you tap a spike or an orb where you tap it and then you hold and enemies want to swing you because they think, hey, you're committing to this. But if you're not actually committing, then you're going to be able to kill them. So it's going to make them potentially challenge less often and give you a little bit more counterplay involving KO's res. And as someone that's gonna play KO, you're gonna get rezzed a lot more altogether. So that's just ultimately gonna be a buff, and all in all, KO is getting some pretty nice buffs this patch. Next up, we gotta talk about Phoenix, and they said this, quote, we believe Phoenix's curveball is the cornerstone of his kit, and as we explored adjustment options, it became clear that curveball being more powerful unlocks his kit as a whole. So we wanted to assess Phoenix in a world where curveball is more competitive with the rest of the ecosystem to get a sense for the impact of the changes. We view Phoenix as an aggressive entry agent, so the additional run it back and blaze changes are intended to support his proactive intentions when taking space or fighting early into the rounds. Now, curveball, the max duration is actually increased from 1.1 seconds to 1.5, meaning you'll get flash longer, and then the flash windup is decreased from 0.7 seconds to 0.5. So these flashes are going to pop faster and last longer. We'll talk about it more in a second when we get through the rest of his kit. Blaze, Phoenix will now equip his weapon earlier if he stops bending the wall. So you're going to be able to throw up your wall, whip out your weapon faster. So if an enemy swings through it, you're going to be able to kill them and then run it back. Phoenix will now spawn at the marker with the amount of shields he had when the ability was first cast. He had 150 shields. Doesn't matter if you die, you're going to end back where you started with 150 shields. Now, people had tons of mixed opinions about Phoenix. Some people said that these were really good changes. Some people said they weren't enough, and other people wanted a rework altogether. Well, I think the ultimate consensus is that they like Phoenix's kit. A lot of people don't feel like this is that powerful or powerful enough to make Phoenix viable. Now, ultimately, it's going to depend on how these flashes feel. How fast are they? Because there's always a number where you could make the flash pop too fast and then it becomes overpowered. But this might be the happy sweet spot. And if you actually want to relate Phoenix to any character in the game that he's the most similar to, it's actually KO in a very strange way, because you got to understand that the typical play pattern of KO a lot of times, especially when you're going in aggressively, is you're using a Viper wall or a smoke. You're either going into a smoke or you're going up to a Viper wall and you're pop flashing over it and initiating on. That's typically what you do with KO to get a lot of value. You're using these walls to pop flash, but Phoenix has the luxury of creating his own wall and pop flashing out of it. And if Phoenix's flashes popped too quickly, it could be incredibly broken where you just see a Phoenix wall and you never know if a flash is gonna pop through it. And when it does, you can't react to it and then you just die, right? So then you just have to back up, and then it's like one Phoenix wall takes all of sight because people are afraid to be facing a Phoenix wall because there could be a pop flash coming through it. And that's why I think it's really important that they don't overtune curveball. It could be too powerful if you make it like 0.4 seconds, 0.3 seconds, whatever. You get the picture. So we're gonna have to wait and see how this feels, and then ultimately Phoenix might need a little bit more tweaking, but for now I think it's the right direction, and Phoenix is probably gonna be quite a bit better, at least in ranked play, than he was before. He's not gonna be just a known throw pick right off the bat, and that's just gonna be good for people that like to play Phoenix at the very least. Now, the last agent that we got to talk about is Yoru. Now, they said this, quote, "We've noticed you Yoru players having a bit of friction achieving the dream of setting up a master plan when in Ultimate. We're hoping these changes will reduce a bit of that problem, rewarding you for using your flash during Ultimate while still preventing unhealthy play patterns that leave enemies without counterplay." So the increased duration of the ultimate is from 10 seconds to 12, and then the reduced unequipped time is from 1.2 seconds to 0.8 seconds. This is actually an insane buff. It's just crazy. Like, more duration's always good, but the fact that you actually get to pop out quicker and then shoot at enemies quicker means that you're gonna be able to do way more proactive plays with your ultimate. You're not gonna have to go around a corner, because that's typically what you had to do. You had to gather information, go around the corner somewhere safe before you popped out, because if you popped out, you never had the chance to potentially fight an enemy. You could even flash them, pop out, and enemies would still have a chance to kill you. But now, not necessarily the case. Enemies are gonna have to be very, very careful around a Yoru who's ulting, because the Yoru could make a much more proactive play and potentially get multiple kills with it. So I do think that this is actually a good change to Yoru, but it is very scary and very powerful. Now, they're also adding in a new Smurf detection system for North America. Now, this says the additions to our Smurf detecting system is designed to make sure that new players, that means all new accounts, are matched up with players of the corrected skill level much faster than before. We're testing this change in North America first to make sure everything is working correctly before a global rollout. Testing begins the week of July 11th, 2022. Improved collision behavior when walking next or behind another player. I like that. This should heavily reduce the amount of jitteriness experienced when moving close to your allies. Rushing a site as a group or moving at a spawn should feel better. That's gonna be great, because that's one of the most frustrating things. The most frustrating thing, I think, is the collisions that happen when an enemy pops a Razor and you're trying to run away collectively and not all your teammates want to run, or some teammates want to run, or you want to fight and they don't, whatever the case may be. There's always this collision that happens that is really awkward, really jittery, and kind of jarring. And I hope that this helps alleviate some of that as well. And I do hope that this new Smurf detection system is going to be a much better way to actually prevent Smurfs from just being in your games and placing with you, or even if you're playing quick play, you're not going to run into as many Smurfs. It's definitely going to be like if you start a Smurf, you're more likely to play against other Smurfs. And all in all, it's going to be a good system, most likely, for stopping a lot of the Smurfing problems, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, ultimately, I'm incredibly excited for all the agent changes, and I'm really excited about Pearl entering competitive. That being said, I want to ask the question to you, what changes do you not see here? I know there's a notable lack of chamber nerfs, or there's a notable lack of some other character buffs that might need it. What do you think the game needs and why? Let me know down below.